Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
All right, folks, as Lauren finishes drinking their water, welcome to Game Over Toronto. My name is Fouad Suleiman, and this is, to my right, we have a little bit of a cannot hear here.
Well, if you guys can hear me.
I think I can hear you.
Okay, beautiful. Yay. Sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, Leafs win 3-2 over the Washington Capitals.
Forget
nice
everything we
change
said
from last
yesterday.
night. Forget everything we said.
It's plan the parade. We're good. We're good.
It's gonna be on Bay Street. It's gonna be on Bay Street.
It's fine. Just don't start it from the X again. That was rough.
Or at least have enough gates this time.
There you go. So they let the kids stay home and cook dinner. We're gonna try not to burn the house down or accidentally delete the SDPN account. If we do, we're very sorry. So what a game, right? Not too bad. You know, the core four looked great. Ilya Samsonov looked okay. Samsonov looked all right, except for that goal that just teleported through him into the net. We're going to get to all of that. The Rock came up with a new chant. The goal horn's the same. But first, I have to ask you a question.
Ask it.
You want to bet? You could do it at Sports Interaction Canada Sportsbook. Football is back, baseball playoffs, and the hockey season is underway. Bet pregame, live play-in, or one of our many prop bets. Made for Canadians, by Canadians. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. All right, so let's get into the swing of things here. So, Leafs win. It was a pretty good win. We started off, it started off pretty well. That we outshot. What was the shots? We saw it was like about 22 shots in the first period.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of shots. More than I was expecting.
That's what I've been screaming for years. I'm like, you have all these stallions on your front end. You gotta use them. They have to be.
You gotta let them run. You gotta let the horses run sometimes.
You have to let them run. There's no excuse why they should not be out shooting the team because, just the law of averages. More of them should go in. So
they should, absolutely.
So, first goal, we had our old faithful captain, Johnny Tirana.
Captain.
Captain. See, that was the most, that was the, classic John Tavares goal. Just boring, understated.
Just being right there.
Just
being right up in everybody's face and just right in.
As our captain Steve Dangle says, he's a little thing king. He does those things that you can know. Like if you're a casual fan of hockey, and if you're watching this, you probably are not. But if you're a casual fan of hockey, you may miss some of these things that he's doing. But he does
positionally.
Right. Yeah,
positionally, he's good. He's always got a good stick in the lane. He's not necessarily good at disappearing. Mulligan has been fantastic for that so far this season with Tavares on the second line. He's really been able to I don't know if it's because of a combination of his size and speed, but he's really been able to just get behind a defender and sneak right away and just pull off a disappearing act basically. But yeah, Tavares being in the right spot again in front of the net and just, having your stick on the ice and having your feet in a conveniently placed position to just happen to knock the puck in. Yeah, not an accident.
This is the kind of game that we want to see is the goal scorers, were Tavares, Mulligan, and I believe not Mulligan, sorry, Yarncroke, and I believe the final one was Matthews. Yes, correct, Matthews. So, we wanted to see the core four perform, and they all did. Okay, so Mitch Marner, got on the board with points. Nylander was everywhere. Right.
Yeah, and on the power play as well. Like the first power play was just like unbelievable. They were putting everything on net, and then as the game went on, I thought they kind of got away from that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Both of the special teams were really great. Like someone in the chat actually brought up a really good point that Justin Hall did have a couple of huge blocks early in the game, and if one of those goes in, then maybe it's 3-0 or what have you, right? So
yeah, I mean, Justin Hall is the new Leafs defenseman whipping boy. Every generation team, like it doesn't even matter. Everybody had every Leafs team has to have the whipping boy. Like when I started watching, it was Aki Berg, Brian McCabe, and then it was Jake Gardner, Cody Ceci. They're always there. We always have to have one of them that we're all just we just blame them all for everything.
It's easy to look at other teams like Tampa and say like, well, their defensive core is so fantastic. But I bet Tampa fans are just as likely to look at a game and be like, oh my gosh, like what was Sergachev doing at that moment? Or like, Hedman, who are you passing to? Like, listen, there's no perfect defenseman, but sometimes you just need, like, the one thing I love about Brody is his plays are so just simplistic and he's just always in the right position. He has a very good read for where the puck is going to be and where it's going to go. He's good at leaving space so that if someone tries to get it behind him, they're not going to. And it's one of the things where I wish that more of the defensemen on the Leafs were like that. Justin Hall was skating a little bit faster tonight, so that was good. Later on in the game, there were lots of Leafs throwing the body around, like Matthews with 6 minutes left throws that huge hit, and just the building goes, MVP. And amazing. Who doesn't love that, right?
Yeah, maybe I'm hoping this is like the final form of Austin Matthews. I mean, obviously, the contract is a topic that just shouldn't be a topic because it's too far away. Like, let's not talk about it. But he's angling for it. Like, he's adding this final piece to his game because, I'm not sure if it comes across on TV, but he's a big guy. He's 6 foot
not
plus.
Small. He's 6'3" or so, 6'2"? Yeah. He's a big fella.
He's big for hockey. So,
yeah.
So if he's throwing the body around, now bear in mind, not throw it around too much because he has a history of bad shoulders.
Please stay intact. Please stay intact.
Only a little bit, only a couple times. Not all the time. But we Leaf fans, of course, we want to see our top players throw the body and lead physically, right? So, and that's what he's trying to do. So, there's not too much to complain about in this game. What did you think about Ilya Samsonov?
Samsonov. Yes, they did specify it is Samsonov, not Samsonov. So,
as someone with a name that is not common, I understand. I'm sorry. I don't want to mispronounce a name because God knows my name has been butchered over the years. But yeah, aside from that, that goal was terrible. I mean, I think he would tell you that. I think the whole team would tell you that. But I think he was pretty solid. Except for there was one possession where he didn't tend the goal and he just, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that might be on dang it's.
It might be. Well, he didn't go in the net, so it might not make it to dang it.
But is it more of a dang it than, Matt Murray's fumbles yesterday where he was just, the entire top shelf on the glove side was just like free hunting season, just open season, whatever you want to throw up there is going to go.
Yeah, the glove hand was not optimal.
No, definitely not. And that was actually, I went back and looked at the comments from last night's video this morning after I got up and had my cup of coffee. And there was actually a Sens fan that said, have fun with Murray and his completely non-existent left glove.
I saw that,
yeah. Yeah. Hopefully not a sign of things to come.
Yeah, we might have to talk to the Game Over Ottawa people, our friends friends out east. About Matt Murray. They might have a more biased view just to get under our skin. But
yeah, maybe we should ask a Pittsburgh fan.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I was saying that yesterday. I keep beating the drum. I'm like, I don't think you forget how to win a Stanley Cup twice, especially because he's not old. I mean, he's 28. He's not 38, right? So,
I mean, if he's forgetting things that are then that's concerning in a different sort of way. But yes, I mean, it was a long time ago too, right? Like, and times change. A pandemic happened. The world shut down. So
yeah, anything before 2019, it's too long ago. It doesn't exist.
And he is coming off a season where he was hurt almost all of it.
Yeah.
And, so maybe his confidence is shaken in that. And, Samsonov at the beginning, he looked strong, and then he looked kind of shaky a little bit in the second, but he seemed to be okay at the end of the game. The last 5 minutes I guess we'll talk about that later, but the second topic should definitely be the last 5 minutes and the 2 penalties that the Leafs spend. Like, basically the last 4.5 minutes of the game, just down a man, basically.
Just putting out fires, basically.
Yep.
Just scrambling. I mean, did you
fire
see that
drills?
That Mitch Marner, the Mitch Marner high stick. I don't know if the camera caught it, but he hit him in the face, and then you could see his face. He just said,
"Yeah."
Like, it was my face when I messed up when I was messing up the streams, trying to fix the stream. It's the same face I had. I was just like,
"Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. I've made a terrible error."
Terrible error. You could tell.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I kind of like when they own up to the penalty. I'm like, they're just like, oh well.
Well, and he hit him in the face, right?
Like,
there's that's you can't 2 minutes for you can't do that. I think is the historic line, right? So yeah, 2 minutes for you can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it was only a 2, and if it had been a 4, I think they said it was a 4 because I think he was bleeding, but thank goodness it didn't go into OT, because then you're shorthanded in overtime as well, when you're just around and around we go.
Then it's just no good. It's no good.
It's no fun for anybody. That's for sure.
Fun. So I would say this game, a lot aside from the game, there was a lot of good pomp and circumstance, a lot of stuff that happened around the game. So if you saw the intro there with Rodion Amirov was introduced.
Who looked very happy to be there, and like just the look on his face was just like he couldn't believe he was finally getting to experience it. Now, I'm sure if he had his way, he would rather be on the ice, but sometimes the universe tells you not yet.
Yeah, and this is purely out of a human perspective, not a hockey perspective. I mean,
of course.
We're not talking about a torn ACL here. We're talking about something really really serious.
Something that almost no one is in the entire world is unaffected by in some way, right? Somebody knows somebody that's had that one of those words associated with them, like cancer, leukemia, right? So
as long as he's looking healthy, and as long as he's around the team, it's a positive step. It's a positive step for Rodion there.
Absolutely, and it is bigger than hockey, right? The same thing with Ben for the Oilers last year, even though Ben is unfortunately not with us anymore. Across the league, there was support. Even the Flames were tweeting out that they were rooting for him, right? And there's lots of redeeming moments in hockey where, people are able to rise above team logo or what have you and just celebrate people. And it was great to see him there and see him be with the team and everything. So I'm sure he was thrilled.
Really, really cool moment. And then we had it cut to the arena with our host. Shout out to Scott Willits, host of the Leafs there. Does a great job. Fun fact, he interviewed me once when I was going out for the Much Music VJ search. He interviewed me, and then we became coworkers, so it became a whole thing. But he's fantastic. If you ever go to Leafs game, shout out to Scott. But he was hanging out with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Not the Stone,
only Rock.
The Rock. It looked like The Rock. The Rock. He said Toronto, not Toronto. Somebody smartened him up, and he also came up with a new chant. Let's go Leafs. Let's go Leafs. I don't know who gave him the script there, but I don't mind it.
I would rather change the goal song than the chant, but I guess I can't be picky.
Yes, it's 80s pops tunes. We have to keep that there. I mean, I think at this point, it might just become a thing. I think us hating it is the point now.
I don't know if that was the point, but I think, he's not from Toronto, right? Like, he's not from here. He's not going to know. He's not going to know Toronto, not Toronto.
Yeah. Well,
even though I just said Toronto, I know.
Hey, somebody smartened him up, though, I'll tell you. But
yeah. He was wearing like the black Leafs merchandise and everything. And, if you're going to go to a hockey game, then why not go to the center of the hockey universe, according to a lot of people in Toronto.
According to everybody, because it's a fact, it's objective. Everybody who's listening to this You can at me, and game over. Everybody else, we're the center of the universe. That's the way it is.
I don't know if we can rename it that, but we'll field it at the next staff meeting.
Yes, we'll talk about it. So, yeah, the goal song. Hall and Oates. What do you think? Do you think it's still there?
It's still there. I don't hate it. There are worse goal songs. Fun. Do I think that maybe it's time for a change? Maybe that could spark some inspiration? Sure. I personally think that the Leafs should go the route of letting all the players pick their own goal songs. I think that that's a fun new thing. Not everybody does it, but I think that it's something to consider, at least moving forward.
I like it. Game ops is hard. So game operations, I had the opportunity to work in that universe, and the stuff that goes on behind the game is very, very very intricate, meticulous. It's very, so to press the right button at that right time would be difficult. But I did like those custom goal songs. Funny enough, speaking of the Capitals,
if the Sabres can do it, come on.
Was it the Capitals?
Come on.
You're right. In 2021, I think the Capitals did it, and
I think so. Yeah.
TJ Oshie, I think, had the John Denver song, "Country Roads."
Yeah.
As his, that was good.
Yeah.
Because if you were a player, just me, because I don't take anything seriously, and I'm a troll. I would probably pick Celine Dion or something like that.
My heart will go on.
Yes, yeah, I would pick that. What would you pick?
Oh, it would be a hard tie. On the one hand, I would have "Believe" by Cher, and then the other song would be "Burn the House Down" by AJR, which are two very different songs. But "Burn the House Down," I think, would be if you haven't heard "Burn the House Down," it's my recommendation. Everybody that I've introduced to that song loves it. So
I'm gonna have to.
That would be my goal song.
Yes, I'm gonna have to take a look at that. So, what do you say? So let's see. What's the chat saying? What's the temperature going on here?
There's lots of chat about Samsonov. Sorry, Samsonov, and are we starting the goalie controversy questions now? I guess now that they've both played.
Well, yeah, the beginning of this. Well, the first controversy I thought was going to be oh my God, we have no goalies. I thought that was going to be the controversy after that goal that went in. I'm like, do we have to get is Michael Hutchinson coming back, or is that?
Oh no,
reclaiming him off.
It would just become the Shelgren show for sure. I think that's what would happen. Yes. if Murray ends up being a flopportunity, that's what I'm calling it, a flopping opportunity. A flopportunity. If that flopportunity does not flourish, I think the plan there might be to try to put him on LTIR, save the cap space, and try and save up to trade for an extra goalie at the trade deadline. And until then, use Samsonov and Shelgren on a needed basis.
Look at Lou Lamoriello over here talking to me. Some conspiracy Lauren over here.
I just have a lot of time on my hands to look at hockey things. So
yeah, they'd just be like, LTIR, I'm tired. He just says, I'm tired. Or he should just do Mike Tyson. My back is broken.
My back is broken.
Back.
Well,
spinal.
I'm sure there's a plethora of Leafs players that are injured enough to some degree that they could feasibly be put on LTIR for this, that, or the other injury, right? I'm sure there's no shortage of long-term injuries that a lot of the players have.
Yeah, every hockey player. It's always interesting. I think it's become an event now. Every playoffs that goes on, it's what horrific, catastrophic injury did a person play with? It was Patrice Bergeron. Yeah, I have one lung.
Yeah, he played with a punctured lung.
I'm
I go up a set of stairs and I sound like I'm dying, let alone play a full 60 minutes of hockey in the Stanley Cup playoffs with a punctured lung.
Yeah,
and I guess that's the level of athlete these guys are, right? There's not much you're going to be able to do to get them off the ice.
Yeah, and it was Zach Hyman played in our series. He just played with basically two replaced knees or something like that. It was 2 torn ACLs. But the point is, I guess you're right. They could find my long-winded way of saying they could find a way to do that.
They could find a way. And Lucky Luciano in the chat brings up a good point. Defense is still a big issue with the team. There are still lots of times where the other team's forwards are getting behind our defensemen, or they're just pushing in against the defenseman that's trying to hold them to the outside. They're just, I don't know if it's stronger or just beginning of the season rust or a combination of both or what. But I mean, Hall did look faster tonight, which was comforting. And Muzzin has been throwing a few big hits, but I feel like every time I see Muzzin throw a hit, I sort of do one of these because I'm terrified of what's going to happen if he gets hurt, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of there's a lot of years on that back end there, a lot of miles or
hard miles
on that back end, and there's not a lot. Like, I mean, the forward group, you can think like, you know, someone were to go down, would desk here. If someone were to go down, you know, you have some guys that really showed out in the preseason, and you have a lot of depth. But defense, somebody goes down.
It's a bit thin, man. It's thin, right? We have Liljegren, but he's off with a hernia. So, you know, even when he comes back, you don't want him trying to, you know, fit into the top 4 and taking up some of the top 6 or middle 6 defensive pairings, right? Like,
yeah.
Even though I'm certain that they're not going to put him back before he's ready, right? Like, hernia surgery is not a small thing, but
I've heard.
At the same time, if someone gets injured, again, knock on wood, like you said, but heaven forbid, inevitably when someone does get injured, you know, it's like Carl Dahlstrom, but isn't he off for like 6 to 9 months with an injury too? Like, the pool of defensemen like he has to have surgery, I think. Shoulder surgery? I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
Or what they that's gonna be a tough one. That is gonna be a
Mac Hollowell, come on down. You're the next contestant on the Leafs defense is not all right.
Not all right. That was really good. It was really, just look at that. It's really good. Yeah. So what else
Showcat Hussein, I also want Camp back on the third line. I think he's too good for the fourth line. I think you got a really good point there.
That's a really good point, yeah.
You know, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, Camp is really good. That third line last year was so good as a defensive shutdown line. Like, oh man, it was just so beautiful. It was the one line that I never worried about.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when Matthews is on the ice, all I'm thinking is, I hope Matthews gets another goal and gets them closer to 60. And Tavares and Willie, you're just hoping it works out with whatever fill in the blank you have on left wing.
And you're just like, this is not working.
And then the third line is like, the third line's out there. It's not a big deal because it was like perfect, essentially. Like, it was everything that they wanted it to be. Camp in his first year here had more goals than he had in like the last 2 seasons put together, if I remember correctly. Like,
yeah, it was something like that. I mean, yeah, you know, there's a lot of good defensive forwards. I mean, we talk about the back end of defense, but the front end is pretty good. I mean, like that PK, like, I didn't see a lot
of... The PKs looked good. Yeah. It's looked really good. And Yarncroke has looked fantastic in yesterday's game and today. Yeah. He was getting he was not just, you know, doing the L1 twig lift. He was, you know, getting up in people's faces. And today, you know, he gets the goal and gets rewarded for all his hard work. He was throwing hits. He was blocking shots. His stick positioning on the PK is so good. Like, he's just cutting off so many lanes. And I'm so excited that he's going to be here for the next, I think, like 4 years, right? Did he sign like 4 by 4.5 or something?
Yeah, that was just kind of a shocking signing. That was one of those signings where I was like, are you sure? Do you have the money for that?
I was surprised too. I mean, yeah, right? Well, and on top of that, like, I really like Yarncroke, but, you know, a part of me wishes that they had spent a little bit less on him and maybe a little bit more on a better goalie. Now, again, it's the second game of the season, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is decided. Everybody is still in the running to win the Stanley Cup, essentially.
Yes.
But
hope springs eternal.
But it doesn't. Come May, you know, is it going to be Samsonov that takes the net in the playoffs game 1? Like, right now, there's no one is a clear favorite. Like, I will say Samsonov looked better than Murray did. Murray looked a little bit shell-shocked after he let in those goals last night. It was just...
Yeah.
It just crumbled like a Jenga tower. But Samsonov, he seemed like he had really good positioning. He was doing some good reads and getting around the screens and everything. So, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Again.
I think that's the thing. I think goaltending is going to be such a story. It is. I know it. Like, you can feel it. You can see it. Like, they like what's that? I remember like on a Danko podcast, you talk about Jeff Merrick quote that hockey you could just rename it to goalie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really good. I should have thought of that. Shout out to Jeff Merrick for that. But yeah, if that's the thing, I feel like we're all talking about goaltending. We're kind of like Ross from Friends. We're like, this is fine. We're fine.
It's fine. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about with goaltending. This is fine. It'll be okay.
Well, but, and it's hard to not just let your imagination wander and be like, well, wouldn't it be so nice if we just had a Connor Hellebuck? Like, yeah, it would, but what is the cost of that going to be? You're probably going to lose like Nylander, Matthew Nyes, and your first round draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, goalies,
and then you have to find space for him as well, right? Yeah, because then you have 3 goalies or 4 goalies instead of 3 in the system. So it's just it's no fun anybody to slice the cake, really.
Being $4 below the cap is not fun. Not having, it's just living cap to cap.
Yeah, you're like living paycheck to paycheck, living cap space to cap space, essentially.
Yeah, I feel like they're just gonna find a rule and get an unpaid intern in there somewhere. They're just gonna be like, oh, who's that? It's our intern.
I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that. Joey Schatz brought up a good point on the chat saying can't see Muzz fetching much on the trade market. And you've got a good point, right? He's a Stanley Cup winner, but that was a decade ago now?
Long time ago. So is Jaromir Jagr, and he's retired. So we want him on the defensive pair. Right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, if enough Leafs go down, maybe we'll have to call Jagr. But yeah, Muzzin's not going to get you much, and his cap hit is fairly large too. Now it's one of those situations where, is Muzzin hurt enough that he could go on LTIR? But again, Muzzin is useful when he's not injured. Like, he has been pretty good. I think maybe he's just, I don't know if it was just summer injury and he's playing cautious or what. But
you're just trying to injure our players here, aren't you?
No, I'm saying inevitably. I'm picking on the oldest guys of the team. I haven't mentioned anyone like
just
under 30.
It's like you. Creaky. I hear that knee popping.
I'm expecting the worst so that, I can't. I'll be pleasantly surprised when I'm wrong. Yeah. That's my method. That's it.
Not everybody can age as gracefully as Mark Giordano.
No. Or, who else looks really good for their age in hockey? Not many now, I guess.
I mean, Alex Ovechkin, Alex Ovechkin's pretty up there. I mean, if you look at his hair,
he looked old tonight. He looked old. He came on the ice and I was like, oh, my friend, that is not gray hair. That is white hairs at the front. Oh, these.
He looks like Ric Flair. Like when Ric Flair, Ric Flair always looked like he was 70, basically. Yeah. So Ovechkin he's had gray hair for a while. Yeah,
it's all the tanning.
Yeah. So I think.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, Ovechkin, we can't count him out. Ovechkin's still gonna go for an easy 50 while he is napping.
Oh, absolutely. And they showed the statistics tonight, and he's 120 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record or something crazy. And it's entirely feasible that he does it. If he tries to go the path of Chara or Joe Thornton and tries to play into his 40s, it's almost unfathomable that he wouldn't break the record at this point, right? Like, he's well above 800. And I mean, I'm no professional hockey player, but I can't help but feel like when you get that close, you'll do just about anything to be able to break the record that you've been chasing, more or less most of your career, right? So it's hard to imagine a world where Ovi's not like a decrepit old man on the fourth line just trying to get those last 4 or 5 goals, right?
Yeah, he'll do it. I mean, this kind of reminds me of basketball. They're gonna make it happen. They're gonna force him. They're gonna force it somehow. Like, I remember Kobe Bryant's last game when he was retired. And Kobe Bryant, when he was, rest in peace. But when Kobe Bryant was not, his last season, he was
when he wasn't Kobe Bryant anymore as much.
But that last game was it was kind of staged. Like, they were just, to get him 60 points, he was just shooting.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're
just throwing anything in the towards the net, hoping for the best, right?
They're just gonna be like, he's gonna be 47. They'll be like, first line, go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they made a great point on the broadcast, and someone else brought it up in chat as well, that Matthews is already 1 goal away from having the scoring record in Scotiabank Arena for the Leafs.
I saw that, and I was
like that's wild.
Is that wild, or is it just sad? Which one is it?
Yes.
Column A, column B.
Yeah, both two things can be right.
Two
right?
things can be correct.
Like, it is, I'm not going to say new because it's old now, but like Maple Leaf Gardens has been gone for a decent amount of time now, right? So it's surprising that it's taken this long to get past that. Now, again, Matt Sandin's career, was split between the two venues, right? So not necessarily the same. He did play in Maple Leaf Gardens, I believe, didn't he? Pretty sure.
Very, like about 3 years, 3 to 4
years. I just mean some of his young production years would have been in a second building, so they wouldn't have counted, or I'm sure that number would be higher, right?
Yeah, but the fact that Austin has done that in only 6 years. 6 years. That's pretty crazy, and he's got the most goals since 2016 as well. Like 259, higher than anybody else since 2016. Like, I mean, he and Ovechkin are like looking at each other like the Spider-Man meme. Like, it's like kind of
absolutely,
old and young, basically.
Absolutely. And Oilers fans I'm sure will be very upset with this. But he is like currently just a goal scoring machine. That is not to say he's better than Connor McDavid. They are different players with different strengths.
Yeah. And
Connor McDavid makes lots of highlight reel goals where you're just like, I can't believe he did that. Whereas Matthews is just he's just sort of like the Swiss Army knife Leatherman combination of like he can bat goals in, he can get a snapshot, he can get up in the net, he can get a slap shot, he can do wraparounds, he can do so many things and score so many ways, and that's why I think it's just like it's almost a cartoon. I mean, he makes Ray Ferraro audibly moan on a live broadcast. Like there are not many moments of that in current hockey, right? And so, I mean, he's definitely the best player that they've had on the Leafs since I've been watching. Inarguably, more or less, like no Leaf has ever scored 60.
I mean, you've been watching longer than I have. For me, it's like it's not even a question. Like it's especially the last 2 decades, absolutely, right? Especially. So before we get you off this here, a question, and I want to ask the chat this as well. Who's starting in net on Saturday? Are we going Matt Murray because it's his former team and he's on the rest? Or are we going with the guy who wins? Like, what's the?
I would bet that. What do I want, or what's going to happen? Because those are probably two different things.
Let's go a little bit of both here. Let's see.
I would like Samsonov to start because I think that maybe the Leafs feel a little bit of confidence playing behind the goalie that they've won in front of. Now, to be fair, I'm not going to say that he was given a great situation yesterday with Murray in net. Like, Murray didn't get a great turnout from the Leafs defensively. No. And neither did Samsonov tonight. But I think Murray is going to get the start on Saturday because it is his former team. And I think Keefe wants to give him a chance for redemption too, right? An opportunity to say, hey, it was just one game, first one with the rust, shake it off, get the nerves out, go try a second time. And then, if it becomes a repeating pattern where every game he gets shelled, well, then maybe we go to Shell Grin instead of, Shell Murray. See what I did there?
I like that. That's really good. I think, normally when you have these tandems, they're always just like you win and you're in. We had that kind of with Anderson and Campbell for a little bit, but that was so short-lived.
But then injuries happened, right?
Yeah, and that's obviously going to happen. I mean, you're just kind of waiting on that. But I would like to see a little bit more of Samsonov. But I think the way that they, hockey, think in the brain of hockey coach logic, they'll probably go up. Former team, you got to get in there. They're very sentimental that way, unless you're Mike.
Yeah.
In which case you're like, well, you're just not going to play.
In which case we can't start Jason's bets on the open.
No, you're just going to sit.
Because he doesn't play on the. He needs to know if he's going to be here. Oh my gosh. Let that era rest in peace. in pieces. Actually, let that era rest in pieces.
I only miss the impressions of Steve Dangle of doing the Babcock. I think mine's okay, but I think we might have to have a Babcock off with that.
I think it's gonna be funny right before we sign off. I think it's gonna be funny when Steve inevitably comes out with his Keith impression. I think it'll be good.
Which is it's like, yeah, everything was terrible last night. He has the eyes. I feel like those eyes would scare anybody to play well. I need him to talk. I need him to just look at me in my life and just be like, hey,
tell me I can get through things. I just want Keith to tell me I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, was that the best you could do?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Make that my alarm in the morning. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, it was just terrible performance. Got those steely eyes there. But yeah, that's it.
Before we sign off here, everybody, thanks for coming into chat. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so every time we go live, you get to be the first ones here. And I guess we'll see you Saturday.
You'll have our most love and admiration.
Our undying respect and thanks. Absolutely.
Yes, we cannot wait to see you again. We'll tune in again Saturday night around the
Saturday
same time.
night. Let's go.
Let's go against the Ottawa Senators. We're going to have some good chirp-offs with the Game Over Ottawa crew, or they're going to chirp us. We're going to see. All right? So,
yeah, sounds good.
Again, from Game Over Toronto, my name is Fouad Suleiman. You can follow me.
My name is Lauren Williamson.
You can follow me at
sorry.
You can follow me at Fouad_sports on Twitter, and I will probably follow you back because it's still building. I'm still building the Twitter account.
Brand new. It's what, 48 hours old now?
It's 48 hours old. I never used to go.
Basically, more or less.
I can see the appeal. It's fun.
Absolutely. And my name is Lauren Williamson. Thanks again for coming in. My Twitter is at Lauren6. I believe Robert has been kind enough to post that multiple times in the chat. And on behalf of all of us, like Fouad said, thanks again for coming, and we'll see you Saturday.
Keep fit and have fun.